gonna make it, just keep chasing your dream. No matter how hard it seems, we gotta keep working a little bit longer. Every day getting a little bit stronger. You're gonna make it, just keep chasing your dream. No matter how hard it seems, we gotta keep working a little bit longer. Every day getting a little bit stronger.
Welcome to Dream Chaser Radio.
What's up, Internet Land? Will Lane, welcome to Dream Chaser Radio, the world famous Dream Chaser Radio show that is. Coming off a good weekend. Saw the Floyd Mayweather fight. Shout out to Floyd. Great fights. Looking good, man. Looking good. That's what I want to talk about today. I think Floyd Mayweather is, obviously he's pound for pound the best boxer right now. And I'm going to discuss some reasons why I think he's going to go down as one of the best boxers ever in history. The reason why he's going to be the best boxer in history, at least one of them. And it's 5 reasons. And none of them are rocket science, but I think a lot of what he does is kind of overlooked. The first reason Floyd Mayweather will go down in history as one of boxing's pound for pound best ever is he works hard. The guy works hard. But it's easy for him to work hard because he loves the sport of boxing. So for him, what most people would call work, for him, he's playing. And you hear that all the time. Do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's an important principle if you want to create success for yourself. There's no line between your work and play. They actually become the same thing. And you kind of need to have that kind of attitude because it takes you putting a whole lot of energy into something to become the best ever. And unless you're really in love with it, there's nothing that can motivate you that much that would get you to put enough energy into something that you didn't actually love. So number 1 is he works hard, and his work is his play. It's the same thing. Number 2, he studies his craft. He knows a lot about boxing. He understands different boxing style. When they asked him about how he felt about Miguel Cotto as an opponent, he said he's a very competent boxer, great pedigree, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He actually studied Cotto's style. And he's a fan of the sport. He studies the history of the sport. He knows different styles. Same thing, Bernard Hopkins also is the same way. I mean, these guys don't just show up to work. I mean, they live it. They study what they're doing. They know the craft. And in business, that's another thing that you got to do. I hear a lot of people say they want success in business, but very few people actually study money. Very few people actually study business and money. So whatever you do, you have to study your competition. Study who's doing it well. What do they do well? How do they do it? How did they learn to do it? What is their style? Number 2 is he studies his craft. Number 3. He has good mentors. His father was obviously in boxing. His uncle Roger, was also a boxer. He gives his uncle a lot of credit. I think he should personally give his dad a lot more credit than he does. But, family issues. You know how family is. But he has great mentors. And these guys came before him and they understand the boxing game as well. And so they were able to give him a lot of the knowledge and experience that they gained through being in the sport of boxing. And what that did is, of course, there's a lot of experiences and things that he had to learn on his own that he couldn't be taught. He could only learn through experience. But what this did is it reduced the learning curve on a lot of things that he didn't know. And that's what a mentor does for you. Sure, you can figure a lot of this stuff out. You can read a million books. You can make a million mistakes. But to have someone that can actually come in and reduce the learning curve for you and say, look, this works or this doesn't work, that's huge. That's huge. So number 3 is he has great mentors. People that have done it for him before. People that have come before him. Number 4, he experienced adversity and disappointment very early on in life. You know, he always talks about that. You know, his father not being there, his father leaving. And one of the things with success, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people miss this point, because you always think when you see someone who's achieved a certain level of success that individual was either gifted, or you know, they had certain traits about them that it just allowed them to rise to the ranks of greatness. And that's probably the farthest thing from the truth. Actually, a lot of people who are great at anything actually become great because they're compensating for lack or some sort of failure from somewhere else in their life. Whether that was a failure or disappointment that came about early on in life, or whether it was something that happened in the teenage years, or whatever the case. Maybe they were rejected. Adversity very early on gives you a muscle and a fortitude which allows you to kind of push through a lot of the pushback that the world is going to get you on your way to greatness. A lot of the adversity that the world's going to give you on your way to greatness. You know, it's like a lot of times you see the cool kid in high school, gets great grades, he's on the basketball football team, everybody loves him. When he gets out in the real world where nobody loves him anymore, a lot of times they can't handle it. You know, so they wind up achieving success below their standards, below what you would expect them to do. So, number 4 was he had adversity very early on. Number 5, and I saved the best for last. Number 5, and what I think is the biggest reason why Floyd Mayweather will go down as one of the best boxers ever is because he says he's the best boxer ever. He says it. He puts it out there. Before every fight, he lets you know that he's the best to ever do this. Nobody can beat him. He puts himself at stake, puts his reputation at risk before every fight. You know, I was looking at a old Muhammad Ali quote, and I think it was maybe Howard Cosell. Howard Cosell is interviewing Muhammad Ali, and he says to him, he says, you know, how'd you become the greatest boxer ever? You know, how'd you do it? So Muhammad Ali looks at him, he said, you know, what are you talking about? I became the greatest boxer ever because I said I was. So the reporter looks at him, you know, kind of confused, and he says, I'm not talking about what you said. I'm saying, how did you do it? He said, I'm telling you, that's how I did it. I told everybody I was the greatest. So before every fight, half the people came to see me lose. The other half came to see me win. But either way, the house was packed and I made a boatload of money. And if you look at Floyd Mayweather, that's exactly what he does. You know, he puts his ass on the line before every fight. And half the people show up to see him lose, half the people show up to see him win. Either way, he's the highest paid man in sports. Or so he claims. I don't know. I don't look at the numbers, but, you know, he claims to be. You know, he's definitely the biggest name in boxing, one of the biggest names in sports. You know, so you have to say that you are. You have to claim wherever you're going. You always have to play on a bigger level than the level that you're on. See, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make is they let the language and the conversation revolve around what's happening right now, around what they're doing right now. And what happens is, unless you elevate your language, unless you elevate your conversation, you never go to the next level. Your conversation always has to be on the next level that you're looking to go to. You always want to be talking in future tense. You know, where are you going? A lot of people use the conversation to, you know, what happened in the past. And a lot of times for the past, most people, the past isn't all that good. So what happens is the past winds up running your life. No, you always want to talk about where you're going. What you're getting ready, and don't talk about it as where you're getting ready to do, or, you know, what you're getting ready to do, or where you're getting ready to go. Talk of it is it's right now. Right now. Dream Chaser Radio is one of the biggest podcasts in internet history right now. That's where I'm going. That's where my conversation is. Words create. In the beginning was the word. More about that later, but that's all the time I have right now, folks. I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you learned something or remember something you forgot. Either way, I'm done for the day. Live big, dream big. Peace.